good afternoon, or evening, or morning, whichever it is for you. This is Pages Promotions. This is Season 2 of Indie Reads TV. And today, in the studio, I have with me the amazing Colleen Nye. She's also amazing by another name, and we'll talk about that shortly. But this is the amazing Colleen Nye. So, the amazing Colleen Nye, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. You know, we've been friends for a while, and I'm so happy that I finally get to have this conversation with you. There's so much I want to talk about, and I know we're going to run out of time, but that just means you get to come back.
Sounds good.
Thanks again for coming. We're looking at this. I'm looking at a stack of books, and I mean, there's oh my gosh, books upon books upon books and stacks of them. You are so amazingly prolific. So just to give our readers and our viewers some background, when did you start writing? How long have you been at this craziness?
Oof. Well, I started writing when I was little. It's always been a thing. And I won the Sarah Endress writing contest when I was in high school, I believe. And it was just a thing from there. I was not ready to tackle novels, so I did a lot of poetry. I did a lot of short stories, won some awards, got into some magazines, moved on to movie reviewing, content writing, press releases. And then 2009, I wrote this one, When in Maui.
Okay.
And, that was my first full-length novel that I finished.
Let's see if I can get smart enough to find the pictures. See,
there
they are.
Yeah.
So When in Maui was your first novel?
That was my first full-length novel that I finished. And it was published with my first publisher in 2012.
That's great. So you've been at this for a while.
I have.
Yeah.
And this is most of what's in print today.
Most. Blows me away. Most. Okay. So, would you this question comes up with every single author all the time, because whenever I go to festivals, you've probably experienced it too. You go to festivals, you go to PenguinCon, you go to wherever, they always ask you, are you a pantser or are you a plotter? Or are you a hybrid? How do you manage your writing process?
It's so funny because I do go to a lot of conventions. I sign books at a lot of large conventions, a lot of events and stuff, and I've met a lot of authors, and I don't know very many at all that can honestly say they fit into a mold for anything.
Right.
But if I were to say what do I mostly classify as, is I am a pantser. Hands down. I can't outline to save my life, because inevitably the book I am writing currently, I was literally halfway through the book, probably 200 pages in, when I woke up one day and sat down to write, and my characters decided that they wanted new names. They wanted the point of view changed from third to first and in hers, and they wanted the tense from present to past. And I said no. And I sat down to continue writing and immediately ran into a wall. There was writer's block.
Well, they weren't cooperating. They weren't going to cooperate. They weren't even going to negotiate, and therefore you were stuck.
They weren't even standing there arms crossed, stomping their foot at me. They turned around and walked off the book. And I argued with myself and them for a week and finally gave in. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't outline.
For people who don't understand the affliction we share, this creative writing thing, we're not nuts. Although I like to say that we're gently schizophrenic, because we do talk to our voices.
They are their own beings.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that as a writer you have to accept.
Yes.
And you accept it and you move on, and anybody who is also a writer gets it.
Yes.
And you can instantly tell the ones who are not writers
because they don't get it.
Exactly.
When you literally say, so I got this new character and him and I are arguing, non-writers look at you and go, what are you talking about? Well, writers are like, oh, I hate that.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk. Wait a second. Okay, so this series.
Yes.
Here's what I want you to do. I don't want to. You've written a lot of really cool work. and I don't
Thank
want to
you.
neglect it, but there's also some industry stuff I want to talk to you about that you have special insight in.
Okay.
So I don't want to like get that.
Hyper-focus, right.
Yeah. So give me an overall series.
Pitch you my books.
Yeah. See,
Pitch you
you
my
already
books.
know what we're doing.
Okay, so When in Maui is the first book, then it's When in Doubt, When in Love. It's the Unattainable series. It is a contemporary romantic comedy series, and it is about two modern-day women. They are single mothers, and the adventures that they go on when their celebrity crushes pursue them. And it is the comedic, humorous, real-life, satirical point of view of watching these two women. One runs to love, one runs away from it, and it's not one of those books that you wonder whether or not the guys are going to run or whether or not they're going to come into chaos. It's one of those books of whether or not how are the women going to handle it.
That's very, very cool. I love that you put a different spin on that, being pursued rather than pursuing.
Yes.
Because there's not a lot of that out there.
Well, I mean, who doesn't want their celebrity crush to pursue them?
Well, sure.
But how would you really handle that?
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I met Donny Osmond once.
Oh.
I was a mess. My son was with me. He was like 10 or 11 at the time. We got in the car after the concert, and we stood in line, and we did the whole thing, got in the car, and my son went, okay, so that was a fail. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so tell me about this one.
Okay, so I have two of those with me today, which on the left is Seasons of Life and Voices from the Ledges. And the right one, Promptly Speaking, my copy is with a friend. These are anthologies, and it's from a writer's group called Writing at the Ledges. They're based out of Grand Ledge, Michigan.
Okay.
I belonged with, I like to say I still belong to the group because I don't want to let them go. They are an amazing group of people. And I attribute a lot of me finally getting off my rump and kicking myself into gear. I learned a lot. It's a critique group. So you bring your pieces, you help each other, critique each other, you give each other pointers, and they are so incredibly supportive. And they've done 4. I was not in the first one. I came around right as they were wrapping up publication of that.
Okay.
And they're made up of short stories, poems, memoirs, everything from just a wide variety of people. So
excellent. Okay.
I have at least one piece in each one of those books.
Okay. Very cool. And then tell me about this series.
This is an amazing project. So Utopia Con was a large indie book, or I don't want to say indie, because there was, it's actually, they have both. They were a large YA book convention primarily.
Okay.
Of course, there's some other, genres that came about, but most of the authors were a lot more YA. And a group of us got together, and it was another, I love our community.
Yeah,
so you'll hear me say an amazing group,
right?
right?
Absolutely. There are some of the coolest people in the writing community, especially in Michigan.
Yeah.
Way cool, expressive, energetic, supportive human beings. So I've met some of my best friends through this writing community. It's fabulous.
Absolutely. And so it was a project that we started together, and I was lucky enough to kind of spearhead it. I worked with a couple other people that were that helped really run the project, and we have a number of authors in each one of the books. All the books have, the overall theme is overcoming adversity.
Okay.
And every book has a specific theme, and each of the stories in the book caters to that theme. And it's a wide variety of short stories from everything from beginner on, they had never been published before, authors that we had met in the circuit, to some pretty well-known names. And everything was voluntary. So everybody donated their time for their stories, the editing, the covers were done by some, I was honored to work with each one of the cover designers.
Yeah.
The formatting was done voluntarily, and it was spectacular.
Truly collaborative efforts.
It really was.
Yeah.
And it took a whole year.
I love when the community comes together to do something like that. And it's so much fun, and then you all get to celebrate together, and it's just super, super fun. So this series, Are these all, so it's collections in each book?
Yes.
Did each book take a year to put together?
No.
The whole thing?
I don't know how we did it, but we did all 5 books in 1 year.
So are they all the same collection of authors?
No.
Or there's a whole bunch of different?
Some of
So
us
do
are
you know
in
how many
multiple
total
books.
authors there are in there?
We were probably around 40-something.
Wow, that's spectacular to have that many people involved in the project.
Yeah, right around there, I would say.
That's great. How cool to get so many people like that involved.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that doesn't count the formatters, the editing crew, the cover designers.
Right.
It was just, I don't know how we pulled it off, but I guess that's what happens when you get a spectacular group of people together.
Absolutely. That's great. It's like getting a sports team together. It's
Yeah.
very cool. Okay, tell me about this.
Oh, this one, and I did not bring a copy. It's actually sitting on my nightstand. Chacho is what he went by. He very recently passed away. So excuse me if I get choked.
No, you're allowed.
So Bikers for Books is a thing that Badge does. He's a biker out of Michigan, and his MC and several other MCs all work together to kind of make sure that school-age children have enough books to read. And they do different events and different things. And Chacho was Badge's older brother, and he had gone through so much adversity in his life that he overcame so much. He did time in federal prison. He was very involved in the Highwaymen. He was he went through a lot.
Right.
And throughout it, he wrote poetry. And he came to me one day and said, "I want to publish my poetry book. Do you mind helping?"
So that's what this is.
And so I wrote his biography, and it's sectioned out where every start of the chapter is a piece of his biography that I wrote. And then it follows up in chronological order of the poetry from that part of his life.
That's extraordinary. What a cool project to be a part of.
And I was so happy to see that he was able to put that out a couple years before he passed. So
yeah. Wow. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It was a fantastic
We get to work
project.
with some cool people.
I know.
Okay, so I'm going to grab this one.
Okay.
Letters to Cora. And the reason I'm grabbing this is because I want to specifically talk about, first of all, tell us about the book.
Letters to Cora. It's so funny because I know you probably, as an author, you get this. I want to tell you all about the book, but I know I don't want to do spoilers. So
I know, I have the same problem.
I have this thing with dual love stories. The Night Table series is 2 women. The Long Summer is a dual love story. This is a dual love story. She goes to... Sorry, I have new puppies.
I get it. I know, I've seen pictures.
So, Nell goes to Europe after some changes in her life, and she buys this estate on a whim, and it's broken down, and she's helping fix it up. And in the middle of fixing it up, she goes to secure the stones in the stone wall on the property, and finds an old letter, very, very old letter that's behind a rock. And as events unfurl, she keeps finding letters, even though at first she thinks, well, maybe I just missed the other ones, but then she's realizing, no, I'm not missing these.
These are new.
Where are they? So she goes into town to enlist some assistance, authenticate them, figure out what's the history of the property, all this. She meets several people that play key roles, and it is a paranormal romance.
Okay.
So there's a reason these letters are continuing to come.
What fun! Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. It's super exciting. I felt so honored that you brought me a copy because now I get to curl up with my Afghan and read it.
Yeah, blankies.
Blankies are good. They are. So, where is it? There it is. You did a new cover design. Now, one of the things I really wanted to talk about, because again, like me, you're an indie publisher and you edit and you do all this stuff that's industry stuff. Why did you choose to redesign the cover?
Okay, so I will state, first and foremost, I didn't actually do the new cover. Now, I've done most of these covers.
Yeah, no,
myself.
I get that. But
and I didn't do this one, and I want to stress that simply because I want to give credit to the friend of mine who is an author. She is a very prolific author, fairly popular, goes by M.R. Polish.
Okay.
And her and I were talking one day, and I was saying that I needed to make some adjustments. I wanted to redo some formatting. I wanted to maybe touch up some covers. I was debating. And she said that a lot of books every few years get new covers. It's how you get to keep the audience, keep the fresh new audience, fresh new reads. The industry tastes change, readers' taste change. So you got to go out and see what covers are popular and kind of like mold if you need to. And so Misty has an obsession with covers, and she's great at them. And so one day she was like, do you mind if I play with this? And she comes back with this idea, and I'm like, well, I got a new cover now. So she's doing that and a couple others.
That's awesome. Now, just so that we can do a compare and contrast, so this is the old cover, and when did you publish this book?
2017.
Okay, so it hasn't been that long.
No,
since the book has been out, but the difference. Well, but the difference between this cover and this one,
it's striking.
Oh my gosh!
Right. So
what a big difference.
So when I wrote the book, I had intended on it actually being darker.
Okay.
And as it came out, it wasn't so dark. It was very romantic. I mean, it's paranormal, so you're going to have some element of mystery and depth and whatnot. But when I did the cover, my brain never let go of the concept that this book was supposed to be dark and heady and all that. And so Misty, in her glorious, wonderful insight, went, no, this is far more of a romance book. And I'm like, well, yeah. And she's like, here's your cover.
We have to do a different cover.
Here we go.
Okay, so next thing I want to talk about, and we don't have a lot of time because we're having so much fun, and I'll have you come back. We have like 10 minutes left, but...
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? So in addition to changing covers, you also write under a pen name.
I just started another pen name.
Okay. Another pen, aside from Colleen Nye, did you have another pen name before Colleen Nye?
No.
Okay. So, a new pen name. What was the impetus behind making that choice? I have this thing where I'm like, I can't remember my own name most days.
I know.
No way I'm going to write under another name.
And that was why I started.
I would sign the wrong name in books. It would be ugly.
I'm not looking forward to this, but there's a couple reasons. So, along with the cover changes, which incidentally, both Immersion and The Long Summer are getting new covers. They are about to be released over the next few weeks.
Excellent.
So watch out for those because they are amazing. There is a reason, and I muddled with this for a while because The Long Summer is a coming of age romance. Letters to Cora is paranormal romance. The Unattainable series is romantic comedy. Immersion is dystopian thriller.
Okay.
And The Pole, which I did release a couple years ago, this one here.
Yeah.
That is a paranormal thriller.
So that's the one. So that's paranormal thriller.
And that's leaving the Colleen Nye.
And this one is dystopian.
That is dystopian thriller. Okay. Tech thriller.
So are these the ones that are going...
Immersion Stain, simply, it's getting a new cover. It's getting a new look. It's getting a new format. It's Stain because it's won an award. I traveled to London to pick that up. Right. I don't want to leave the name because the fan base is there for it.
Right.
The Pole, though, is my newest book that's out. Well, I take that back because Havenwood Falls, I did do a book with Havenwood Falls, which is an amazing book world if you ever want to check it out, if you like supernatural stuff. But The Pole is my book outside of that traditional publishing. It's my latest indie book. And the book I'm writing is fantasy.
Okay.
And so these genres, The Pole this series is intended to be paranormal thriller. I've got fantasy, I've got all this, and they're so different from the romance. And the new book is not Fade to Black. And for those that don't know what Fade to Black is there's some adult content in it. Sure. And these books don't have.
So you're choosing a pen name so that you can separate the two.
Right.
One set of books that is acceptable for almost everybody, and another set of books so that you can differentiate between audiences.
Yeah, the way I always said it is I always wrote for my teenage daughters to my grandmother to be able to read.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep Colleen Nye that, which is technically a pen name, except for it's my maiden name.
Well,
and,
there you go.
And
Yeah.
so that's how I don't get as confused.
Yeah.
The new name is, and it's already out there. It's RJ Lloyd.
Okay.
I've already started my Instagram and my Facebook page, which I'm surprised how many people are already paying attention
because
at
we
my
love you.
ramblings.
We love you, so we're going to follow you no
Thank
matter
you.
what. But yeah.
But the poll is going to get a slight rewrite
Mm-hmm.
and a new series name, and that's getting moved because I'm going to ramp it up because my RJ Lloyd name is where I get to cut loose.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely get the argument behind doing a pen name. I certainly understand that, and with as many authors as I've talked to, I get the basis for it. I'm just not capable of being that schizophrenic.
Okay,
so
this is what really pushed me over the ledge
Mm-hmm.
into doing it, is when I was told, and Missy told me this, she says, your readers are the average reader in the world likes specific genre, maybe two.
Yeah.
They're not like a lot of in-depth readers that'll read whatever, and there's not a lot of us that do that.
No, there aren't.
And so when your fans pick up your book, they want to know that it's going to be in the arena of what you write and what they like. So if you're all over the board,
they like that predictability.
They do.
See, I have this wacky notion. I want to write one book in each of the 35 major genres. And I'm okay with creating that weirdness with my readership because
and that's what I thought I was.
I love to read everything.
Right. And that was my argument.
So reading and writing everything, and I'm okay with it. It's fine. Yeah. If there's somebody who likes my romance and doesn't like something else, that's okay.
And that's where my argument laid with that. Oh my gosh. See, this is why we have editors.
Pick grammar. Yeah.
So that really was my argument until I started not fading to black, and then I realized that's the key difference.
Yeah.
That is really the key difference.
Right.
Is,
well,
my
I get
grandmother
it.
will not be made known of the new books that I am writing, other than they're there, Grandma.
Yeah.
But you
don't read them. Yeah. Okay. Frustratingly, we have like 5 minutes left.
Okay.
It's crazy because I could do like 2 hours with you. I really want to touch on this idea of indie versus trad, or sometimes called legacy publishing. You've done both.
I have.
So now you're doing indie publishing almost exclusively, right?
Yeah, my Havenwood Falls book is my only traditional published
Okay,
book.
so why not continue to pursue traditional? What was, like, give me 3 really quick
It's not that
big
I haven't.
reasons why you decided to do so much more indie work.
I pulled for several reasons, and some of it's personal.
Sure.
But I know who you're going with. A lot of small publishing houses are risks simply because they go out of business all the time.
Yeah.
I have experience in that.
Yeah.
So know your publisher. I will periodically put my books out there for a big publishing house. That's all of our dreams, really.
Sure.
But being indie, I have complete control. If I want to change my cover, I change my cover. If I want to change something, I change it. If I want to update it, I update it. If I want to go out and sign someplace, I go out. I order my books, I go out and I sign.
Yeah.
It is complete control, and I get every penny of my royalties.
Yeah. Those 2 reasons alone are the reason I'm doing it.
Right. But if you get a good publisher, it's worth it. But there's so many options out there, and what's going to fit you may not fit me.
Exactly.
So know who you're going with, and get out there and ask other authors their experiences, because people are going to give you a ton of information to know what to ask, and not every, like, I had no clue what to ask when I got into it.
Yeah. Well, that's another reason why I love the community we're in.
Yeah.
Because we have this understanding of success without competition, right? You and I don't compete for readers or for book sales. We're in this to support each other and help each other succeed in our thing.
Because we understand that if I go out and I'm the only author at an event selling books, I'm going to get a trickle of people.
Right.
But if we have 10 of us setting up booths, we're going to get a crowd.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, it's all we help each other,
yeah.
support each other. It's I like to liken it to a swim team where you're all swimming together, but you have individual target goals.
Right.
And that's the best way I can explain
Yeah.
the wacky community we're in. 2 minutes. What would be the most profound, for lack of a better word, profound? I'm using air quotes. See, air quotes. Profound advice that you would give a new author, especially somebody who wants to go indie.
Write every day.
Okay.
It's simple. Write every day.
Well, yeah. As Gaiman said, it's that simple and it's that hard.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I love.
It really is.
I love that quote from Neil Gaiman because he says, all you have to do is just put your butt in the chair and sit down every day and write. It's that simple and it's that
That
hard.
is the simplest thing to tell you, but it's going to be the hardest thing for you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, how do you manage that every day? I mean, I actually put it in my calendar. I have 2 nights a week that I keep sacred for writing. How do you manage it?
You're going to laugh. You ready?
I might.
I do 2 things. I have an iPad mini with a hinged case that has
With a keyboard, yep.
And I carry that everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Everywhere. It fits on my lap. And I'm 4'9", so this thing goes
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if
I
it
take
fits on
mine
my
everywhere
lap,
too.
it's little.
Yeah, yeah.
And I whip it out everywhere I go and write. And then I have a king-size bed, and I am a single woman. And so my laptop stays on my bed. And so if I wake up at 3 a.m, I just open it up and write whatever scene came to mind that woke me up.
Okay, so you're telling me that the key to writing every day is getting rid of my husband?
Well, what works for me?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm not going to get rid of him. And
No.
he knows I'm not going to get rid of him. And, I have a king-size bed and 2 dogs, so...
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
I
dogs sleep
have
in
space.
the living room. We're good.
So, flip side of that, 30 seconds. What's the worst advice for a writer?
Don't be somebody else.
Oh, I like that.
Write
Okay.
for you.
Okay, I like that. All right. On that note, that's perfect. That's an excellent place to end this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I am so thrilled you were here. We're definitely going to do this again because we
Okay.
have so much more to talk about. I'm going to have you back on a panel discussion with a bunch of other authors. We're just going to have a blast. So
Awesome.
thanks again for coming. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.